So we know how to read our chord diagrams now, and we're going to take this and apply it to some different chords. The first chord we'll be doing will be the C chord, and this will have a few different forms we're going to go through, like we talked about earlier: major, minor, dominant seventh, suspended, and add 9. And now I'm going to show you how to do those. The first will be the C major chord. And as our chord diagram said, we looked at it and we see X on the 6th string. Our third finger is going to go on the 5th string on the 3rd fret. Our second finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. We leave the G string open. And now we're going to go on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and we leave the high E, the 1 string, open. We'll go ahead and strum that. And that is our C major chord. And as we discussed when we talked about major and minor, that the major chord has a pretty happy sound to it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is move on to the C7 chord, or sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the dominant 7. And when we look at this chord diagram, we'll notice that we can keep some of the fingers the same. And all we have to do, we'll keep this C major form down, and we're going to add our pinky. And looking at the chord diagram, we're going to notice we'll have a circle on the 4th string that tells us, that has a 4 in it, the 3rd string, that has a 4 in it that tells us we want our pinky down. We keep the rest of the C chord the same. We don't have to change anything else. All we're doing to go from C major to C7 is to use, just to put our pinky down, add 1 note. So let's give that a strum once. And like before, we noticed the 6th string had an X over it, so we don't strum that. So here we have major, C major, now C dominant 7, which, as we talked about before, too, gives a little bit of that country and or blues flavor to it. I really like that sound. So the next thing we would do then, we talked about how the pinky can add different variations. So we will go on to what is known as a C add 9 chord. So we start out again with our C chord. Nothing's going to change here. And we're going to go in and add, once again, our pinky. That is almost our extra hand, because it allows us to do so many different variations. Instead of going where it did on the C7, it's going to go down 1 string to the 2nd string. It's going to go on the 3rd fret. And that's the only change we have to make. And that is our C9 chord. C add 9. We still leave that top note, that top string open, because we have a circle over it on the chord diagram. The nice thing about this, this C, all these forms of C, is we can take our pinky, and by just moving our pinky around, we can switch to various forms. So I'll show you the C suspended, and then I'll show you a demonstration of how we can move through 4 forms of C by just moving our pinky. So to get to a C suspended chord, start with that original C chord, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 5th string, 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 4th string, open 3rd string, 1st finger, 1st fret on the 2nd string, open 1st string. Now, let's go ahead and put our pinky down again, but this time it's going to go on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and this will give us a C sus chord, or a C suspended, which is also a very beautiful sounding chord. Now, we had 4 variations of this chord, all by just adding our pinky or not putting it down. So we can start with C, put our pinky down on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. We get to C7, we lift our pinky up and put it down on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. We get to C9, Then we bring it back down and we take our pinky and we put it down on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and we have a C suspended. So by just moving our pinky around, we have 4 different forms of this chord.